Today, lovely audience, we're answering people's questions. Why? Because we hit 50,000 subscribers. You know how many that is? Yeah, that's right, 50,000. It's insane. I didn't expect to get that much, but here we are. So, I have your questions compiled on my computer, not this piece of paper. That was for the bit. We're gonna read your questions, and we're gonna just have some fun and see where we end up. I'm very thankful for the situation I'm in. It's actually the best job I could ever ask for, so honestly, thank you so much for everyone that subscribed. It's meant a lot, and I will do my best to future trans content. For now though, we have questions to answer. Question 1, how old are you? I'm 25, turning 26 this year. I was born in 1999, so I'm like literally the last year there will ever be in the 19th century, which is kind of wild when you think about it. Like, most people now will be like born in like 2000 and something, but at some point, me being like 19 something will be kind of unique. So I think that's kind of cool. A weird drawback is you're neither a 90s kid or a 2000s kid, because different people will debate which one you are, and you'll kind of feel culturally maybe both. I've heard the term millennial being used on the internet, but I've never heard it being used IRL, so I'm going to assume it's not a thing. But if it is, I guess I would be one. But what matters is that I think it's kind of cool to be like born right before the turn of like the millennia. Like, that's kind of cool when you think about it. What's one goal you had for this year? Well, for this year, I'm still recovering from bottom surgery, which thank you everyone for making that even possible in my 20s. Like, that would not have happened anywhere near now if it wasn't for this channel in general. So obviously, thank you very much. But other than that, in recovery, I think I want to go back to university at some point and get a speech pathology degree. That'd be kind of cool. Other things, I'd really like to try studying in Japan again, because I feel like I've progressed in my transition enough where I feel a sense of confidence to try these things I was once scared of. Another thing is a motorcycle license. That'd be really cool, because mine expired because I got scared, but I'm more confident now. So those 3 things, I guess. Next question, did I know I could use creator code Princess Lucy in the Fortnite item shop? Yes, I did know that, because my creator code, yes, this is a real question, I promise you. If you play Fortnite or use the Epic Games Store in any capacity, if you enter Princess Lucy right before you buy something, 5% of whatever you buy goes to me. Wow, so cool. I actually get a lot from this. It actually supports the channel, a surprising deal. I'll admit to you, lovely audience, I got a creator code because I thought it'd be funny to say I have a Fortnite creator code, but it actually financially supports me a lot. So thank you everyone that's been using it so far. It's giving me way more than I thought it would. Infinite blow high and no games? Or infinite games and no blow high? That is the question, literally. I'd say infinite games and no blow high, because like, I still want to play games, and in this hypothetical scenario, I could create blow high, and then I'd make millions. But I have lots and lots of plushies, and I think these kind of scenario games are kind of mean, because I wouldn't want to pick between games and blow high, but here we are. Most fun chart to play in Rock Band, Guitar Hero, or Fortnite Festival? I wasn't expecting a question about this, but I'll take it. I'd say probably the most interesting chart in Guitar Hero is probably, It's Another Parsec. Is that how you say it? That song in Warriors of Rock? Because I always liked how they let you do little keyboard parts as like a little tap note thingy. Are you going to continue showcasing your plushies in YouTube Shorts? Yep. I intend to. I've just taken a break for a while because algorithm-wise it wasn't doing that well. YouTube Shorts aren't a huge focus of this channel because most people watch me for the main channel videos, so resources go to that. But I intend to record, probably after this, record some plushie shorts, so that'd be fun. Next question asked what this thing's called, the little black ribbon tie thing I wear in a lot of my outfits and videos. So, okay, here's a secret, okay. The question asked specifically if it's attached to the clothing or if it's separate. The answer's both. Okay, so with this top, it's actually attached to the fabric. I don't know if you can see. But on this specific top that I got in like 2012 or 13, this top, the black lace is connected to the top itself. Whereas when I wear the other blouse, the short sleeve one, but when I wear the short sleeve blouse, I use this. A long bit of black fabric. I think you could even use shoelaces about like the aglet part. But other than that, It's nothing fancy, surprisingly. You'd think it's something elaborate. I had trouble finding these. I actually found these by accident. I think it was, oh, here it is. It's actually behind the camera. This pink top that I wore in some recent videos, that actually came with this little black bit. So I attach it to all my outfits now. It's great. I love these things. I recommend. Can you show your favorite bag? I only really have one, actually. It's this little bag that I got on eBay for like $40. It's not branded. It's probably been made in the sketchiest way possible, unfortunately. But I got this little Pikachu attached to it. This Pikachu was released in Japan around the time Black and White came out. I bought it on eBay for $20 because I think Pokemon plushie prices weren't inflated at the time. But I really like it. It's cute. It's functional. It has this little compartment here where I put portable chargers, medicine, reusable chopsticks, power banks, I already said that, and makeup remover. And then this compartment, these two main ones, one is purely dedicated to holding a water bottle, and then the other one is where I put my headphones and other miscellaneous things I am taking with me that day. I love this thing. The second it breaks, I'm probably gonna try to find the exact same type. I'm obsessed with this. They also have size like bits too if you need more storage, but I've never needed them because this fits everything. It's great. It's like having a backpack and a purse at the same time without compromising style or function. It's great. What's your favorite type of bread? Probably white bread. I don't know if it's called different things in other countries, but in Australia at least, white bread is pretty standard. I quite like it. Other than that, if I want to be more specific, in Lawson convenience stores in Japan, they have this like strawberry long bun thing. I used to have those for breakfast a lot when I studied there at university. It was pretty cool. I wasn't there very long, but I became a huge Lawson fan by the end of it. Even though I don't know how common they are relative to the other ones. Is there a physical sensation to HRT? This is hard to say for myself, but at least when I take HRT, my stomach feels more, full, I guess. Like, if I'm not on hormones, because I had to briefly not take hormones to do surgery. When I was off the hormones, my anxiety levels are really high, so I think it made my stomach feel like it almost felt like I was about to give a speech at any second. I forgot how bad my dysphoria was, like pre-HRT, until I had to stop taking it for a little bit. But no, I guess physical sensation wise, I just feel less anxious with HRT, and my stomach just feels a bit less empty. What's it like to come out as trans, and advice for transphobic parents? So I came out on like multiple different occasions, like probably over 10 times, just because parents aren't receptive to it. Just keep trying. I just like kept saying it year after year after year because it was important to me. If you're saying it so often, it's clear it's important to you. I think if you have transphobic parents, I think emphasizing the positives of transition is really important rather than emphasizing how miserable you feel right now. Because if you do that, they're going to be like, oh, take antidepressants. But if you're not suffering from depression, it's not really going to do anything. I would know I didn't have depression because there was like a little medical dosage mix-up early in my transition that gave me depression symptoms. It's very unlikely for this to happen. It's extremely uncommon. But I let the doctor know, we changed the dosage, and I'm fine. But because of that, I know what depression feels like. It's not great, but it is different from dysphoria. You can have both at the same time, but I can say that depression is very different. So if parents try to tell you, oh, it's depression, it's either depression and dysphoria or just dysphoria. Taking antidepressants or other forms of non-gender related therapy will not assess or help with dysphoria. Dysphoria can only be helped by creating euphoria. And you should emphasize things that make you happy and euphoric to your parents as best you can. If you can articulate why it will make you happier and lead to a better life, then that's important, because I think parents just see the whole stigma, future being harder, that kind of thing. But they don't see that without transition, things are already hard, because they're seeing things from the perspective of a cis person. Is it okay to be jealous of fully transitioned trans people? It is okay to feel that way. My recommendation is to try not to lump that onto the person that you're feeling jealous towards. When I was in high school, there was this one trans girl that got to come out a bit before me. And she got a lot of acceptance, some unacceptance too. But the jealousy I felt was consuming. It made me not enjoy the moments I was having, and I was feeling it consume my little victories because I endlessly compared myself to someone else. Ultimately, she met more stereotypes than me and got more acceptance than I ever did at the time. And I think acceptance only relative to someone meeting stereotypes isn't really acceptance, it's just tolerance. And that time really taught me what jealousy can feel like at its extreme. I felt awful, just distraught, to be honest. That was the worst I recall feeling around that time. And later on in my transition, as you can imagine, there's now people that feel that way towards me. And it's such a strange occurrence because, well, I was once in the other person's shoes, but now I'm in the other shoe, you know? So I just want to let you know that if people are like fully transitioned or whatever, they don't view themselves like magically above the people that haven't transitioned yet. No, provided that they aren't a meanie pants. Trans people who are fully transitioned want to see other trans people succeed and be themselves. It's not a contest, it never is. If you make it a contest, it becomes a jealousy match, and at that point we become no different than a reality TV show, and that brings out the worst in people. But try your best not to let it consume you, and try not to let it negatively affect relationships of other trans people you meet in your life. Contrary to popular belief, running up to someone and saying, "Oh my god, goals," is not really the compliment you think it is. Because if you do that, it puts them in a tough spot where they're like, they don't know what to say. What do you say to that? If someone runs up to you and goes, "Oh my god, goals," like, what do you do? Have you watched Studio Ghibli movies? And if so, which is your favorite? My favorite's Ponyo. Nostalgia bias, to be honest. I just like Ponyo. I've always had a huge obsession with the ocean and like being near the water. So Ponyo is always a favorite of mine. Next question asks how to deal with internalized transphobia, which is a bit of a tricky subject because we all live in a different social context around the world, and we get influenced by it in one way or another. I guess the thing to keep in mind is internalized things are merely internalized by the environment around you. It's not a reflection of your true beliefs or whatever, right? Like, if you have occasional thoughts that are a bit transphobic, it's not a reflection of the core of you, like the core of who you are. If you accidentally in your head gatekeep someone, the best thing you can do is not let that thought exit your mouth, right? Like, if you have a transphobic thought that's internalized, allow it to stay a thought and understand that if it's a thought, it can't hurt anyone. It's only when you act on that thought that it becomes destructive, you know? Like, it's actually very difficult to not have any internalized, like, hateful beliefs at all, to be honest. A lot of hateful rhetoric is passed around all around you very casually throughout your life. It's very hard not to internalize it, you know? Whether it's like transphobia, racism, sexism, all sorts of forms of discrimination, right? It's hard not to be super influenced by the thoughts and feelings of others. But a thing to keep in mind is as long as you're trying to be as kind as possible, you are kind. You don't have to be some perfect saint that never has terrible thoughts, you know? Just because your brain will think up some horrible scenario where you said something awful to someone doesn't mean you said it. There is a moment where you get a choice presented in front of you, and it's the choice you make that influences your character. If you let it stay a thought, then that rhetoric disappears into the wind. And if everyone did that, transphobia would disappear. But, you know, one step at a time. Next person asks, unlimited bacon or no games? Or, wait, did we already have this question? Did two people ask the same question? Well, one was Blaha, Blowhigh, or Bacon. Is this a common template? Are there any other trans characters you like besides Mizuki? There's so many that I really like. But I'd say standouts would be Bridget from Guilty Gear, another Mizuki from Bokugo. That's probably one of my favorites. That manga was a huge impact on me. I'll probably do a video about it someday, but I want it to be a really special one because ultimately that was the one that actually shattered my egg into nothing. That was the final nail in the coffin, so to speak. Or the not coffin, because it made me proceed to live. Who knows? Other than that, like Nittori from Horomusuko, probably big one. The protagonist of If I Was Your Girl, for sure. I'd say those are the main ones. Like, I think Mizuki, both Bokugo Mizuki and Project Sekai Mizuki are the standouts for me. I think they're the best written trans characters, but they both happen to be Mizuki. So the question giver does mention that Xenoblade apparently has a good trans rep, so that's pretty cool to see. I'm glad Nintendo games seem to have on 2 separate occasions had good trans characters, so that's pretty cool. As a random aside, Nintendo's the only Japanese company to just bravely go, yo, gay people are cool. Like, I know other countries are very performative of allyship, but Japan doesn't do that much, so it's kind of cool Nintendo did it. At least for getting to performative allyship. That's progression. How do you manage to appear so positive when the world is, for lack of a better term, going real bad? So, the thing is, yeah, I won't deny it. The world's kind of nuts. You know, I'm not going to act like it isn't. I don't want the positivity of my videos to be misinterpreted as ignorance or a lack of understanding. I understand the world has a lot of issues, whether it's misinformation on social media, AI taking everything we could ever love, and fascism being terrible. However, I think the thing to bear in mind is that there's a lot of things that we are in control of, and there's some things we aren't. And the reason the videos are so positive, and why I present myself so positive, is because there is a lot to live for, you know? Like, the world's scary, but there's a lot of parts of the world that aren't, you know? Like, tiny little pieces of community, places. It's not all a terrible Twitter argument. Like, I think the internet emphasizes, or I guess paints a different picture of the general perception of wider society. Most people don't really care. In a good way. Like, trans people are not on the minds of most people. When I'm walking down to the beach or going to the park, I know that all these people I'm walking past, very few of them are really taking much note of trans people existing. Because most people are pretty positive towards trans people, to be honest with you. Like, there's extremists and there's really mean people, but acting like it's the dominant belief of society would be a bit nuts. And unfortunately, conservatism makes a lot more money than being nice to people. So, just understand that even the really, really bad people are not being mean to trans people for the sake of their own ideologies. They just want to make money. Like, not that many people actually care. But on the flip side, when you talk to just random regular people, trans people are mostly chill. So I live in Australia, a very different place. But when, I think it was a year or so ago, I was in a university course, and I remember mentioning being transgender to like some of the girls in my class. And they're like, oh, do you feel like trans rights has gotten a lot better? It's been so progressive lately, huh? And I'm like, you know, there's transphobes out there. It's being a bit of a rise, but like overall people are pretty nice. And they genuinely didn't know that they were dedicated like transphobe groups or that kind of thing. Heck, they didn't know what the wizard lady even was, or if she was transphobic. I literally had one university class where a random girl invited me to the club for that certain wizard book, knowing that I was trans, because they had no idea there was that like implication of inviting a trans person there. They just didn't know. Like, I'll be real, people just don't know. It's very easy to view the world in the lens of social media, and people want you to, because it makes them money. If you endlessly doom scroll and feel afraid, they make a lot more money than if you didn't. Granted, I'm to some extent part of the wheel, so to speak, since like ad revenue from this goes to corporations too. There's no escaping it in some senses. However, how you use your time is something you have control over. You can click out of this video if you want. You can come back, you can pause it, you can do whatever you want. You can rewind it so it makes it look like I do funny faces. What have you, it doesn't matter. But when you spend time in this wonderful little world of ours, I want you to keep in mind that there's so many beautiful parts of it, whether it's like nature, the people, like the kind, like communities out there. There seems to be a community for any activity that exists. And like those moments where I'm just walking around and seeing the flowers bloom, or like wearing a cute outfit I feel good in at a shopping center. It made it feel worth it. Like it made the whole journey, like bits of pain along the way, worth it, because well, I'm living in this really giant, beautiful world, and there's a lot of bad, but I think there's more good. But who's gonna make a news report about something good happening? This just in, a dog went for a walk and had a wonderful time. That's not really news. News is incentivized to talk about bad. There's a lot of good to being trans. I really like being trans, actually, because of all like the people I've met and the experiences I've had and the sheer satisfaction of going through it and like being able to live your life, right? It taught me a lot about myself and the world around me, and empathy. And if I wasn't trans, I never would have had that, you know? I could have been pretty close-minded, I'd imagine. Next question is, what do I believe the greatest threat to humanity? That's quite a question. It's just greed. Like, I feel like every problem that's ever happened is usually just due to greed. Which is a big no-no in the Bible. I'll just put that out there. A lot of bad things that happen either on our planet or within our communities is usually due to some guy just wanting a bigger boat to party on, and can be largely avoidable otherwise. And at the end of the day, that causes every problem, whether it's environmental issues that affect the lovely planet that we live on, or legislation that's really hateful to us, not because they actually hate us, but because they get more money from the type of voters that tend to hate us. So what I'm saying is, don't view it too personally, but yeah, greed sucks, and that's what most things come down to. Did you ever have doubts in your own transition once you figured out that you were trans? The answer to that is yes. When you live in like around lots and lots of cis people that like to give their 2 cents about the situation every chance they get, it's very easy to doubt your own decisions. And I think those doubts end up leading to, you know, pretty interesting thought-provoking thoughts, and can end up solidifying your identity more. If you have doubts in here and there, like try to assess why those doubts are there, and they'll probably lead to like the answers you seek. Sometimes your doubts hinge on different types of internalized feelings, which we did talk about a bit earlier, so that's a fun coincidence. But for me, I think once I assessed internalized misogyny, that made transition a lot easier to process, because I didn't like being a guy. But the common thought was always, do I hate it that much? If you're bargaining, that's a stage of grief, and you know, because that's probably grieving. Something you thought was there but wasn't. That's just a part of transition sometimes, and that's fine. What's the difference between zero depth and full depth bottom surgery? So, I'm glad you asked. So, the difference between zero depth and full depth is that when it's a full depth, there's a canal, right? Like a tunnel. And that tunnel can be used for spicy activities, we'll call it. Whereas zero depth does not have that tunnel or canal. The outside of the lower regions look identical. They don't look different at all that I can notice. And you can still stimulate both types of surgical masterpieces. The difference lies in the recovery of having different operations. Zero depth comes with less risk, less complications, and a quicker recovery. So for example, my bottom surgery took place over the course of 5 hours, whereas if I elected for full depth, it would have been 8 hours. That is nearly double the surgery time, which has lots of room for complications and that kind of thing. Now, most people get zero depth, so don't think full depth. Most people get full depth, I mean. Don't think people getting full depth is more, like, horribly dangerous or whatever, because most people get it and they come out of it fine. Most people that complain on Reddit are a very tiny percentage that had, unfortunately, bad luck. That's not reflective of everyone's experience. Most people that get surgery don't post about their results on Reddit and snap a picture of their results, unfortunately. That's kind of an awkward thing. I mean, I didn't do that, and I had great results. It's kind of a bias of we tend to report on bad things. But for me, zero depth just allows for a faster recovery, less issues, just an easier time. Full depth, however, requires dilation, which means you have to stick something into the new tunnel, we'll call it, and it has to sit there for a little bit at different intervals of the day so that it maintains its shape, so the tunnel doesn't cave in and stay less depth. Then it becomes a zero depth, I guess. Both are safe. Both surgeries have higher satisfaction rates than pretty much every elective surgery that exists, and it's way less risky than a lot of surgeries. For example, the regret rate for a knee surgery is way higher, even though that can feel like more of an essential surgery rather than an elective one. So that's just something to keep in mind. What was the inspiration for your channel name? So here's the truth. I used a random, like, fantasy name generator, you know, like there's like, oh, pick your fantasy name or whatever. That's what I got. Will you ever play Blade and Sorcery or Battle Talent? I actually have played a lot of Blade and Sorcery, but not on the channel. I don't think it suits the vibe of the channel, but the game was pretty fun since you can use the leg trackers to kick stuff. I haven't played it in years though, because the game got really unoptimized after like the 7th version of the game or whatever. So I stopped playing around then. How bad was your imposter syndrome when your egg cracked? Pretty bad. It's easy to go back and forth because it's easier to assume that you're not part of a very small percentage demographic. When did you figure out you were trans? Arguably when I was 8, when I started secretly wearing my mom's clothes. You could also argue it was when I was 4, when I pretended to be pregnant and wear a blanket around as a dress. That would sound pretty egg cracky. Or you could argue it was around the time I was 12 or 13 when I came out as trans, or came out as someone that wants to present them to friends. Or you could argue it's when I decided to get HRT at around 18, and then at age 21 when I actually got HRT. Either of those stages you could consider where my egg cracked. I personally consider when I was 8 because I have a little notebook where I wrote the words, "I wish I was a girl." I think that's a bit of an egg crack. What is your D&D alignment? Probably lawful good. I don't think I'm rebellious enough to be chaotic good. I've seen some Reddit memes where like trans creators have put on a D&D alignment chart, and usually I end up on either chaotic good or lawful good. I think lawful good makes the most sense. I act within the law, lovely audience, so that makes me lawful good. I encourage being kind to others, and I don't think my methods are particularly chaotic, but if you mean my editing, then my editing is chaotic, but I don't know if that's reflective of me as a person. If you disagree, let me know. Should I avoid mentioning that I'm trans while seeking jobs? So I've only gotten a couple of jobs in my life, whether it's like English teaching for Japanese students or working in an electronics game store, like as a retail position. But I'd say, like, depending on where you are, if your country has like legal protections that mean you can't get denied due to being trans, it's worth considering just telling them anyway. Because realistically, if you get the job and then they find out later, the result's not that different. Unless you intend to stealth or hide for all of it, I think it's just best just to either be transparent about it or never mention it at all. it's really a needs to know basis when you think about it. It's not like when you're like about to do a relationship with someone. Does your employer really have to know? That depends if you want accommodations, like making sure your pronouns are used, that kind of thing. But otherwise, your employer doesn't really have to know. And in a lot of countries, it's illegal for them to ask you. Does HRT actually make you crave pickles? I think spirolactone is the testosterone blocker that makes you crave pickle. However, lovely audience, I take cyproterone, so I don't crave any pickles, so depends which tea blocker you get, I guess. What is an aspect of transition that ended up easier than you expected? I'd say it would be the process of getting estrogen in general. However, I live in Australia, but understand that most trans content creators, especially in the 2010s, were predominantly American. So understand that as a kid, I was watching a lot of American content creators explaining the American system of getting hormones in the 2010s or the early 2000s. So understand that when I went to get estrogen in 2021 in Australia, the mere mention of informed consent blew my mind. I was under the impression that estrogen cost hundreds upon hundreds of dollars. But when I go to the pharmacy to get like a month and a half-ish of estrogen, it's like $30 for me. So I was shocked. I was like, what? What do you mean? I was shocked to learn you could just walk up and go, hey, my doctor gave me this piece of paper. Estrogen, please. And then they give it to you. I guess I didn't expect estrogen to be at a regular pharmacy. Like, it's literally a medical shop that you walk past all the time. In your day-to-day. It's like, it was there the whole time. Like, I was a couple of steps away from estrogen. And like, because of the informed consent model, which I didn't even end up doing because I didn't know it existed. You can just sign a thing on the internet and then just give it to a doctor in Australia that does informed consent, and then bam, you got an appointment. Another thing, appointments were not as hard to book as I thought they would be. I went on a website and they were like, oh, pick the date you want. It's like, oh, I guess I'm gonna have to plan months in advance. And then they're like, oh, do you want an appointment in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Are you serious? I think if I knew that it was this easy in Australia compared to America, I would have done it way earlier. All I had to do was see a psychiatrist that was referred to me by the doctor. Then I go back to the doctor, and then they're like, alright, here you go. And I'm like, that was it the whole time? That was it? You telling me the entire time? All I had to do was do one psychiatrist appointment, then talk to a doctor, and then spend like $30-something on estrogen. And then, obviously, a bit more whenever the T blocker was in the picture, but I only had to do that every year. I live in Australia, at the end of the day, and there just was no information on a YouTube video. But one Google search and you'll find it. What type of music do you play on guitar? Mostly like metal, funk, jazz, all sorts of stuff. What's your opinion on non-binary people? I think they're epic. Like, just because I'm like within the gender binary doesn't mean I don't think it's cool, you know, when people are outside it, because I think it's really cool to find yourself, and if finding yourself is outside the gender binary, that's super cool. Like, I think that should be encouraged, and I wish there was more visibility for non-binary people within the wider trans community, because some of us are not great at accommodating them, and I wish they felt more welcome sometimes. And that, lovely audience, is our Q&A video. Was it long? Yep. But if you want to see more trans-related content every week, feel free to hit the funny subscribe button, hit the like buttons and all that, and comment what you think, and let me know your experiences. And yeah, once again, thank you so much for 50,000 subscribers. Like, that's way more than I could have ever thought I was ever gonna get, so thank you so much, honestly. It means a lot. I don't know how long I will be given this blessed opportunity, so I'm going to enjoy it and make the most of it while I have it. Nothing's forever. However, understand that even if I suddenly stop making money from content, I'm still going to make content because I do this because I like it, rather than money. But the fact I can make money while doing it means a lot to me. So I'm going to depart, and yeah. Hope you enjoyed this video. And I'll see you next week if you want to join for more trans content. If you have a type of video you want to see, let me know. And if you want to secretly imply that you watched the entire thing, use the word ribbon somewhere in your comment to indicate you watched this, however long this video is. I hope it's not too long. Oh my god. Okay, stay hydrated and know that you are valid. See you next time.